to Central Park. Anyway, I don't want to waste any more time on that. Mr. Delaney, this is the only meeting you have this month, so I'd like you to give me a little leeway because I have several questions. It seems you have a really ambitious agenda going on. I just want to make one comment concerning the parking. I suggest this council comes to a Board of Adjustment meeting. They're giving out variances like it's candy because developers are coming in and finding new ways around rules, and quite frankly, the sizes of driveways are ridiculous. And I'm just going to throw out a number. If they're permitted to have 20 feet, they're cutting the curb at 30 feet because this borough's very busy, and I think maybe they just don't have time to go back and check. But just go up and down, Mr. Monty, I know you run down, walk down under Cliff. Pay attention to the curb cuts. You'll see, some of the houses have the entire front of their house as curbs, where you couldn't possibly, technically it's not a curb cut, legally, but they're using it. And quite frankly, you can't stop somebody from parking on your streets. You can regulate hours and put permits, but you can't tell me I have to park on the street because I pay property tax. I pay taxes to the federal government. I pay towards the paving of those streets. So I am one of those people. My husband insists that we squeeze every car we can in our little spot so that we're always jockeying cars to be considerate. There are some people who just aren't and aren't going to, no matter what you do, abide by it. Okay. I brought with me just give me 1 second. I just have to get it, please. These are the minutes from September 19, 2011, when one of the first public discussions of the contamination regarding Veterans Field took place. Mr. Mayor, you're saying that you wanted to make it clear that the field has taken place and there'll be more testing, and you don't have all the answers yet, but you are looking into it. This was now in 2011, it's now 2014. On March 26, 2014, this council stated that their goal is to get Veterans Field remediated and to negotiate aggressively. This was when you were talking about hiring the attorney. And I quote, "All legal rights are at your disposal. You'll pursue litigation against all responsible. No compromises." Does that still hold? Is that still this council's stance? When Mr. Rozier is the attorney for Montvale, you should watch it on TV, there's interaction between the public and the council. They actually get answers. So, all responsible, no compromises. Does this include Brian Christensen, as he was Waterside's consultant at the time, and he was on the job, present at the park every day, observing the operation? So, does this include him as on that list of litigation? I think it should. What is the status regarding the DEP and the contamination on the Breland site? I know you guys have met with the DEP several times, I'm assuming, or talked with them, emailed them something. What's the status? Has the DEP stipulated as to whether or not the contamination currently exists under or around 38 COA? I feel foolish here just reading with all staring faces. Is 38 COA identified as a generator of the contaminated material that has been removed from its property and dumped in Veterans Park? Is there sufficient insurance to protect the borough against future liability arising out of the disposal of the PCP contaminated fill? And is the borough including the cost of this insurance and the amount necessary to cover the cost of removing that contaminated fill that was removed from Breland and slash 38 COA, and then dumped illegally at Veterans Park. Meaning, once we take it out, who's paying to insure? Who's paying the insurance to indemnify us against any future liability of where that contaminated fill may end up?
Valerie, let's try to wrap it up.
Okay.
Try to give everybody a little extra time.
What is the level that this council is currently trying to seek for cleaning up at the park? And is the council planning on permitting waterside construction to complete the project at the park once the contamination that waterside illegally dumped is removed? Is the council planning on paying waterside for the unfulfilled contract?
Valerie, time is up.
Okay. What was the result of the mediation with Judge Mecca on June 7th? Thank you.
Anyone else wish to be heard?
Peggy Long, Northburg, New Jersey, and tonight I am here on behalf of the Hudson River Waterfront Conservancy. I'm a board member there, but my questions are more personal than, it's not that the board asked me to ask these questions, but it's a personal question. I know that there was a fire out on the pier by the Haven restaurant, and the question that I had in my mind, and I know that you're not going to answer me right now, but I'm hoping at the end of this session there will be an answer. Was that pier noted on the permit that approved this whole project? Was that noted as being a private pier, or was that not part of the Hudson River Walkway? Because our board thinks it's part of the walkway. And if that's the case, then why the hell was that turned over for private use? Because it's not supposed to be. And the other question I had is, I'm a little bit behind in your re-examination of the master plan. I was told you were going to vote on it tonight. And the question I had, or the request that I have, is that Edgewater continue to respect the guidelines for any walkway that's going to be part of this, any changes that are going to come about because of this change in the master plan. And I say that because Edgewater itself has had a checkered history with the walkway. There are a number of locations that we have problems. And one of them, of course, is this fire that's out on the pier. If it turns out it's supposed to be part of the walkway, then I would say to the town, why did you allow them to convert it to private use? Even though it's a state mandate that it be a walkway, still, nevertheless, it's part of the town. And somewhere there is some responsibility of the town. If it is supposed to be part of the walkway, I'm not sure. We're going to check into that with the DEP. We'll find out eventually. But I'm just waving a caution flag that as you all race towards this new change in your master plan where you're increasing the density, increasing development, I mean, you're going ahead and growing by leaps and bounds, we want to make sure that the walkway designs and regulations are adhered to strictly, because we're going to have to start looking at this a little bit more closely. And we haven't been doing it that much. We've been trying to cooperate and work with the property owners and pointing out some problems on an unofficial level. But if we find that the walkway design guidelines are not being adhered to, especially with the town, we have to really start looking at it more closely. The other question I have is, it's my understanding that when you make a change to the master plan, that part of the municipal land use law is that you're required, the town is required to notify the county and the adjoining municipalities of these changes. Now, I've been told that this was actually approved back in May 27, 2014, but for some reason it's on the agenda tonight. So as I said, I'm not keeping up with it, but the question I have is whether you're approving it tonight or you approved it back in May, are you or will you or have you notified the adjoining municipalities of these changes? which is gonna affect, I know, I live in North Bergen, that's Hudson County, and we're right next door to you. And so far as I'm concerned, I am a resident of Edgewater in many ways. And I've said this before, I'll say it again, I'm down here almost every other day shopping. So the point is that if you're making changes to your master plan that affects the traffic flow and traffic patterns, and it's gonna hit us directly in North Bergen, especially as you go up Bulls Ferry Road to escape any emergency situation down here, it's gonna affect us. And I hope you do follow through the municipal land use regulation by notifying the surrounding towns. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to be heard? Seeing none, I'll close the open portion of the meeting. Phil and Greg, if you want to jump in and help me with any of these questions, as far as the resolution for the ambulance, I believe we're going out for authorization. So it's, as far as the cost of the ambulance, we'll soon find out.
We have a budget, Mayor. This is the authorization of bid. Hopefully, the bids will come within the budget.
As identified several months ago.
In the ordinance, that's correct.
Okay, now as far as the dispatcher hirees, we
Yes.
explain what the concern is.
The one dispatcher that was hired off of the police list, although it has no bearing. We have and we receive literally hundreds of applications for employment on a regular basis. We pigeonhole each application depending on what the request is. We have not advertised in newspapers for this position or the mechanic's position because of the quantity of applications that we have on file. The Bergen Record typically charges close to $1,000 for a 2-day advertisement. They require that the applications or resumes be forwarded via email. We get applications and resumes that sometimes don't even apply to the position that we're looking for. So I should say, I made that decision to simply pull from applications that we have on file. Procedurally, either way is appropriate. Either way is legal. I can certainly take direction from the governing body for future positions. We can advertise in the newspaper, post it on our website, but again, I think it's an extraneous cost which doesn't yield the applications that we're looking for.
Mr. Mayor, I think that, with regard to dispatchers, these are local men and women who are either involved currently with volunteer corps or police candidates that are qualified. We have enough to choose from. Some have turned us down already. We're going to that qualified pool. I feel very comfortable there. With regard to the dispatch, the mechanic, that was a gold mine find. It's going to save us so much money. It's job specific. No one has those skills that individual has. We're lucky to have them. So yeah, I think we're doing the right thing.
All right, we're first environmental, we replaced terms at the field and we're replacing at the plant, correct? You have any?
Yes, they have, First Environment has submitted what they would consider a proposed contract. Now, that happens all the time. We generally modify those, so whatever they submitted is not,
But there's no issue with the rate.
no.
So why would we?
Let me clarify. What Phil was saying specific to the contract that Mary was reading off of, that was the draft copy of the contract. Once we get a contract, we forward it to the borough attorney for a review. Most of those items that Mary listed get stricken from it anyway, and then we funnel it down. Very rarely do we have an issue where a professional is insistent on a particular clause that Phil strikes. So it typically works out.
Well, you can understand, I get nervous when I hear comments, especially from the public, saying, why are we having events and feel that's under consideration or has a problem. So that's not an issue.
Mary also mentioned about the stockpiles. At this time, we don't know if the stockpiles are contaminated or not. Those were some of the samples that were taken from First Environment. So if they are, they will get appropriately covered, but right now they were never covered. only those areas that were initially identified by terms were covered with plastic. As far as, and this goes back to when terms was the LSRP on site, we made that decision internally not to hold activities at the community center once the field was closed. But because of the inactivity and the number of registrations that were hitting at 500 registrants, can you believe it, for summer camp, we decided to make the move to split some of the camp up and use at the community center. So that was why that decision was made. There is a resolution on your agenda for an MSRP for the marina. There is outstanding, for the lack of a term, violations at the marina site. However, we have determined that those violations exist for the neighboring site, the gas station, and not the marina. So we had First Environment submit a proposal so they can weed that all out with the DEP and close that out. So that's one of the resolutions that appears there.
Mayor, the other thing concerning terms, a number of questions have come up by members of the governing body, by myself, concerning the situation we find ourselves in. We had hired terms to be the eyes and ears of the municipality to ensure that Veterans Field was completed pursuant to the bid specifications. For a variety of reasons, that didn't happen. And questions were raised about whether terms, the bidder, did not fulfill their obligation because of the situation we now find ourselves in. It was the collective judgment of the governing body and special counsel that it would be in our best interest to have an independent LSRP be brought in to give direction to the governing body, and so that we can, move on with the testing and get the approvals we need from the DEP. It's very important to remember that terms had indicated to us that they had done what needed to be done in order to get a remedial action work plan. Well, that turned out to be not an accurate statement. There was a substantial amount of additional soil samples that had to be taken. They have now been completed. They have been sent to the DEP. So, waiting for whatever we have to do to get those permits.
Mr. Mayor, I
And
would
they
also,
also feel that correlates with the additional money.
Absolutely. I think they've taken over 1,000 soil samples, and terms had not done anything near that, and which is required.
yeah, in fact, the DEP told us that we weren't going anywhere. We were even notified. And to suggest and throw a statement out from the floor that it's actually written in their complaint against us that the reason why it requires was Waterside and Ivy's told us to is both insulting and wrong. So let's just get that off the table. And we have outside counsel that's continuing this effort for us, who's very aggressive, and those comments that we made, as far as I'm concerned, I think everyone individually, it stands. We're going for whatever we have to do to get the money back and get the right parties and assign the right ends. It might end up being a jury and a judge that does it, but it's going to happen. And suggest that we're backing away from that and all this other innuendo. It's just, it's not productive.
It's not, and we're in contact with our special counsel, and he has reassured us he is going to pursue those responsible parties. When we gather the information, we are still trying to determine the amount of contamination, areas of the contamination, and we should have that information shortly. We expect to go out to bid and commence that remediation as soon as possible. So we're still very optimistic about that.
There's a lot of moving parts here.
It's a lot, yeah, it's complicated.
Parts, and
We're
it
dealing-
changes daily, hourly sometimes.
We're dealing with the DEP,
Yeah.
we're dealing with the US EPA, and they all have, their standards, and we have to comply with them, and we are complying with them, so.
Well, I'll tell you what, you look at the results coming back, and not the results, but the effort put in, and the grid pattern, they've checked everything. And that's what should have happened since the beginning.
Right.
And I'm just getting like a little bit frustrated and all the parties involved in the original. And
Right.
thank God we had First Environment.
Yeah.
They're moving it, and it was encouraging, it's coming back. We're gonna be able to move forward, confident, again, for history, to know that we looked at everything before and did what we said we were going to do.
Okay, moving forward, as far as things that were mentioned in open public, Valerie, I know that the DEP has been to the field within the last month. I know Greg met with them.
And
They were at both sites, and
the Freeland site, which has come up. Right, and so, you know, they are aware of all the activity that is taking place. They are continuing to monitor the situation. And again, concerning the residents at 38 Coa, there is no evidence that that site has been built on a contaminated, that has been properly remediated pursuant to the laws that we don't have jurisdiction over, the state has jurisdiction over. So, again, this comes up frequently. And
I was just going to say, that isn't like the third or fourth time that we're addressing this issue.
But you never answer the actual question. That's the problem.
Okay,
That's
Valerie,
the
please.
question again.
No, you
All
didn't.
right, moving forward.
I'll repeat the question if you want.
Excuse me.
Mayor, the June 7th mediation was canceled. The borough will pursue all the additional costs that the borough will incur as a result of remediation of Veterans Field. All of that is part of the claim. So these are obvious items that
We have another mediation date, so the mediation has continued.
So the mediation will continue concerning the master plan, Mayor.
Okay, Phil, the one thing I'd ask, Phil, like Mrs. Wong, I would have every confidence that we've notified our surrounding municipalities. I feel confident in that before asking Phil, but Phil, I would ask if the pier was noted, like Mrs. Wong had asked in regards to the League Brothers site, or do we have any kind of response for the Haven Pier fire?
The information that we have is that it's a private property.
Okay.
Well, it wouldn't even conform to the walkway, because it doesn't have the right surface, it doesn't have the right lighting, it's not part of it.
And, again, that's not within our jurisdiction. I mean, that is a,
Well, they were building.
these are laws that are.
So that may actually be riparian rights that belong to the property, correct?
Yes, it's a possibility, yes.
The walkway is there, but the pier may actually be riparian rights.
While we're speaking on the walkway, I'd like to thank publicly the people of Grand Cove that have put that walkway back together. We're going to try and regenerate the monies from the state if possible, but these people really went over and beyond to get this walkway back
And are
on.
incurring substantial assessment.
And they are
monies.
incurring quite a bit of dollars. So I just like to say that personally, since I do a lot of walking.
Any further comments?
Mayor, I want to make a comment regarding the invoice that was presented by First Environment to the borough, where they do actually make a comment about certain requests by certain council members. I think that invoice needs to be reviewed to find out exactly what the additional costs are coming, where they're coming from. I think that the additional costs are probably coming from a substantially larger number of borings and samples that they collected as opposed to what was originally proposed, which I believe was originally 100 to 150. And as far as additional equipment that was set down, I was there every morning and every afternoon to see what was being done, how many people were on staff. I emailed everyone, including Thomas Whitten, Red Franz, Phil Boja, counsel for the park situation, and at no point did I ever see additional equipment there. I asked for it, but I was told that they didn't have it, and that, as a matter of fact, I also
You
suggested.
asked what would it take? You weren't authorized to do it. You didn't
Correct.
ask to be authorized to
Correct.
do it. You asked about what are we doing, because we agreed to do everything we could do to move this thing forward.
Right.
And I thought you already asked for a review of that, and you're right, you should get a review. because you didn't
That
have
should
it.
definitely be reviewed.
Right.
I didn't ask if it was possible to separate the
It's easier to
boring.
hear if you listen.
If it was possible for us to separate the two boring machines, one at the park and one at the other, so we can can kind of tackle different areas. And I was explaining that, no, that you can't do that. We need to have the two machines running side by side to ensure the integrity of the samples that need to be taken. So we definitely need to look into that. But as all of you know, the purpose of my visits there were to, to make sure work was getting done. And I wasn't asking for anything other than what was expected of them, as far to make sure that things got completed in a timely fashion.
Don't pass the resolution because you're paying them tonight for it.
Any further comments? At this time, I'd ask to move forward for the approval of minutes for June 2nd, 2014. We have work, and we have 2 closed sessions, and June 16th, 2014, regular session. Do I have an introduction? Second.
Second.
Any questions in regards to the minutes? Roll call.
Councilman
Yes.
Edwin, Councilman Doran.
Yes.
Councilman Markey.
Yes.
Councilman Bedell.
Yes.
Councilman Bartholomew.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Receipt of bids.
Yes, Mayor, we received bids for the vacuum sweeper, which is being referenced, we discussed in resolution 2014-172, and also bids were received for a new roof in the community center, and if the council wishes to award it through resolution 2014-184.
Can I ask in regard to 184, we'll call for where the family at? Roughly, because there was one company from South Carolina, one Ohio.
South Jersey.
South Jersey, okay, thank you.
All right, we have ordinances scheduled for public adoption. We have ordinance 1507, 2014. Ordinance of the Borough of Edgewater amending and supplementing Chapter 37 of the Borough Code to mandate direct deposit for municipal employees pursuant to NJSA 52-14-15F. All borough employees will have direct deposit. At this time, I'm open to the public on 1507, 2014 only. Anyone wish to speak on 1507, 2014? Seeing none, I'll close the open portion of the meeting. Do I have an introduction on 1507, 2014?
So moved.
A second. Roll call.
Resolution ordinance of the Borough of Edgewater amending and supplementing Chapter 37 of the Borough Code to mandate direct deposit for municipal employees pursuant to NJSA 52:14-15F was introduced on June 5th, 2014 and is hereby adopted. Councilman Henwood?
It's a state initiative.
It's June 16th, by the way, not June 5th.
So it's state mandated or state program, and it makes sense, yes.
Councilman Doran?
Yes.
Councilman Monti?
Yes.
Councilman Bedell?
Yes.
And Councilman Bartholomew?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, ordinance 1508, 2014, ordinance of the Borough of Edgewater, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, amending Chapter 71 of the Code of the Borough of Edgewater entitled Officers and Employees. Article 9, to create the position to Police Communications Clerk, formerly known as dispatchers. This is simply changing the title of the position. It's a civil service non-competitive position. At this time, I open to the public on 1508, 2014. Anyone wish to be heard? Valerie.
Valerie Martinez, 16 Hudson Terrace. This is your, is that why you're, why are you changing the title? From police dispatcher to, I'm just curious, to communications clerk? Is it, do you have to because of civil service or what?
It's
Yeah.
non-competitive. It's non-competitive.
It's non-competitive, so, but why are you changing the title?
Essentially, this title enables the borough to more easily fill the positions without complying with civil service testing.
So you don't have to call for a test or anything,
Right.
you can just, you don't have to pick from a list or anything,
Right.
you're bypassing essentially civil service. Okay. All right, just questioning, because if you listen, you'll hear me say, I understand about civil service and I understand how the police are hired. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to be heard? Mary?